like myself, but it never crossed my mind that one of those random individuals was a celebrity that was in a place that could help me. So hey girl, hey, it's Tanya, better known as She's Pretty Posh. Welcome to my channel. Okay, so today we're gonna go back to this series, Diary of a Depressed Black Woman. This is the beginning of my testimony. I have a powerful testimony. Now, I haven't shared it with many people from beginning to end, but today that's gonna change. So this will serve as part one of my testimony. If you've watched any of my other videos or you are familiar with my story, then you know that I suffer with depression, ADHD, and anxiety. You also know that back in May of last year, things really took a turn in my life for the worse, and I found myself in a very dark season of my life as I endured one of the worst depressive episodes I have ever experienced. So this was a very dark season of my life. I felt like I had no hope. I didn't see any light anywhere that I looked. I just felt like I don't want to say in a sunken place, but I will definitely say I was in a very dark place. I just didn't have any hope. I had been dealing with mental illness and the challenges that come with it for several months, and I just didn't see relief anywhere. I started to feel like God was ignoring me. Yes, I was praying. I find myself talking to God. Now, I don't sit down and pray, Holy Father. I don't do all of that. But I will sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with God. Like I talk to God just like I talk to my friends, my parents, or anyone else. So during that time, I was talking to God a lot, but I just didn't feel like either He didn't hear me, or if He did hear me, I don't know what the problem was, because He just was not responding. Your girl was just out there like, God, hello? You remember that book, Are You There, God? It's me, Margaret. Are you there, God? It's me, LaTanya. Where are you? Okay. So one day, I worked from home, and one day I had decided it was a rough day for me. So sometimes when things are a little rough, I will take my lunch break and take a nap, because sleep, when I'm in a dark place, sleep is something that helps me to escape it. So on this day, I was getting ready for a nap, and I decided to call my mom. And I was telling my mother, like, I was going over again the struggles that she already knew were present, and was telling her how alone I felt. And I remember saying to my mother, you know, where is God? Why won't He help me? You know, driving that point home, I feel so alone, so misunderstood. I just don't understand. I picked up my cell phone. And I decided to scroll on Instagram. I went to open my DMs and I saw something. I don't know what happened. I can't remember the details, but I do know that I saw something that made me go to the hidden mailbox. I didn't even know I had a hidden mailbox. Did you know? I didn't know. When I get to the hidden mailbox, I have all of these different messages, but one message in particular caught my attention. And I'm looking like, am I tripping? Surely this does not say who I think it says, because it looks like Michelle Williams had just sent me a DM. So of course I opened the message, and she sent me a voice message. She had seen my reel on how I was suffering with suicidal thoughts, and I just didn't know what else to do, and I didn't understand why God wasn't helping me. Remember, I said that earlier when I was talking. In the end of everything that Michelle said, she said, this is God wanting you to know that He's with you and He hears you. Let me tell you, if I didn't know before, I knew in that moment, because how on earth would Michelle find me, little old me, way in Tennessee, in my little old house with my little old family, minding my little old business? How would she find me? But she said that, you know, this is how sharing is so powerful. By me sharing my struggles with mental illness on social media, it had come across her page. I never thought my reels would be, you know, were being shown to celebrities. You know, I know that it's showing Instagram is showing my content to, random individuals like myself, but it never crossed my mind that one of those random individuals was a celebrity that was in a place that could help me. So after I got over being starstruck, because yes, I was very, very starstruck, I called my best friend. I took a screenshot of the messages. I showed her the message. I'm like, can you believe this? Michelle Williams messaged me. So we hollered and we screamed because I was depressed, but I ain't crazy. I still recognize that was a big deal. So overall, what happened? I can talk. That's the ADHD. I can really talk. But overall, the overall theme of Michelle's message was she wanted to sponsor me and send me to a retreat that she participated in when she was in the same space that I was in. And she said that this particular retreat changed her life. So of course, I want to go. So basically she told me that all I needed to do was get to North Carolina, which is where the retreat was. Now, I'm gonna be real transparent here, very transparent. When Michelle told me that, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Until she said, you have to get yourself there. Okay, so part of my depression when you deal with mental illness and you have struggles in your life, they affect you differently. So one thing that I was dealing with on top of that big issue that had triggered the episode, I was also dealing with financial issues. So, at this big age, in my big life, with my big career and all my big hustles, I had very little money. And I didn't know how I was going to come up with a ticket to make it to North Carolina. Yeah, that bad. But hey, I'm going to keep it real. I didn't have it. So I was like, dang, this big opportunity is coming before me and I'm not gonna be able to take advantage of it. So I talked to my friends and my family, and my dear best friend, who is always super supportive, she wanted to sow a seed into my life, and she paid for my airline ticket. Baby, when I got that ticket, it was on, because I just couldn't believe how things were aligning. Now, anyway, my best friend blessed me and I was able to attend. So I traveled all the way to North Carolina. I didn't have a dime in my pocket. I was so afraid, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what to expect. All Michelle told me was, it's a retreat. It really blessed me. She told me the name of it. She told me the place. I looked it up. I went on the website. There really wasn't much to see, so I didn't have any idea where I was going. And I was so scared that if I asked the wrong question, or, if I asked the wrong question, I might appear ungrateful. And she might say, well, you know what? Keep your ungrateful self at home and, suffer the way you've been suffering. So I didn't ask any questions. I just trusted. I leaned on who she was, and I felt like she was a Christian woman and she would not send me anywhere that wasn't safe. How I get all this just from her being a celebrity. But I felt like the brand that she portrays and how she carries herself, I felt that I could trust her. I did. I felt like I could trust her. Now, had it been a random person, that might have gone a little different. But because of who she was, how she carried herself, okay, so let me tell you about it. So I got my ticket on the day to travel. I really didn't know what to expect. I know that I have been a patient in a mental facility before, and so I know, there is no glitz and no glam. Because it's about healing. It is a hospital. I know they take things away from you. I knew that when I was in the mental hospital, I knew that they took my cell phone, they took my keys, and there were certain things that I just couldn't have. They didn't tell me I couldn't wear this, or whatever. But if you're sitting up in therapy all day, there's no need to be glam. So packing was very simple. I packed a few comfortable outfits. I did ask Michelle if there's anything I needed to know related to dress code, and we never talked on the phone. At this point, we had only talked by message. We sent DMs back and forth, and she sent me a few voice messages. But she told me to just, dress modest, or make sure that, I wouldn't have worn this, right? Because she was like, just cover up. I want to say she mentioned a minister. I can't remember if she mentioned a minister or not, but she just told me just, cover your butt, make sure if you wear tight pants, the shirt comes a little low, basically just be modest. So I knew nothing of what to expect. I knew that the retreat, I had to fly into Charlotte, but the retreat wasn't in Charlotte. It was like an hour outside of Charlotte, and I was arriving at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So when I arrived to the facility, everything would be closed. So here's where it got a little scary. So Michelle said, oh, don't worry about transportation. Because I was like, do I need to have an Uber? Because if I need an Uber, I was going to have to find some money to give me an Uber. And I didn't want to tell her that. But I just had to plan because I literally had no money, right? So Michelle's like, no, don't worry about it. You see how I call her Michelle? That's my friend. But anyway, she told me, don't worry about it. I'm going to send a car for you. So I was like, okay. So anyway, you know, the time comes, I get dressed, I go, and my nerves kick in. I'm super, super nervous, but I'm like, I'm gonna go. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Because I was aware that Michelle suffered with depression, and I knew she was okay now. I didn't know anything about what happened in the middle from when she came out and announced that she suffered with depression. I remember that she went into some facility or had to check herself in. And then I know that now she's back, she's great, she's flourishing, this and that. So I didn't know anything about the middle, how she got from here to here. But I wanted to find out, so I was going to this retreat. So long story short, I arrived in North Carolina. It was maybe about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I'm walking through the airport and Michelle sends me another, because I hadn't given her my phone number and I would not dare ask for hers because I didn't want to be like, you know, a stalker, or I didn't even trust myself to have her phone number. So I'm like, we can just talk about it as long as you're gonna respond. And I didn't even think about, what if I get out here and she gonna respond and I don't have anybody I can, you know, contact. I never thought about any of that. I was just really trusting God and trusting Michelle. So she had sent messages while I was still in air. And once I was, you know, on ground and powered my phone back up, I saw this messenger. She told me, your driver's name is X, Y, and Z. Here's his phone number. And like literally as soon as I turned my phone on, she was sending another message. So I called my driver. He told me, you know, where he was going to be. So I go and I'm standing, you know, with my bags outside the airport, just waiting. And he pulls up in this nice car. Couldn't tell you what kind it was, but it was nice and it was black. So I wanted to have my cell phone out and take, you know, video of the car pulling up, and because, you know, I'm just a regular old girl from Memphis. I wasn't used to this type of treatment, so I wanted to feel like I was Destiny's Child. You know, I'm special. And you know the icing on the cake. Let me just tell you the icing on the cake. So I get in the car. The man is the driver. He's very, very nice, very professional. He settles me in the back. He goes to the front, so I'm sitting in the back of this nice, I'm gonna call it a town car. I'm sitting in the back of this nice town car like, oh wow, I've arrived. I arrived in North Carolina, that's about it. But you couldn't tell me I hadn't arrived somewhere. So I'm all excited. I'm like, yeah. So as we're riding, here it comes. So as we're riding, we're just talking, and I did have a deep conversation with that driver. By the end of the drive, he knew that I suffered with mental illness and, you know, all of this and that. And he had a lot of questions about, because he had a child. And that's why I share, because you never know how many people are touched by mental illness. And when I started talking and sharing about my own personal experiences, he started to open up and share about the experiences of one of his loved ones that suffered with mental illness. So we had a great conversation. And we had like an hour-long drive. So at some point during the conversation, he asked me, so let me just get straight here. Are you a member of Destiny's Child? Baby, he made my entire century, okay? Am I a member of Destiny's Child? No, honey. But I was too flattered. So anyway, long story short, we make it to Hidden Ridge. Hidden Ridge, North Carolina is where the retreat was housed. And when we arrived, so first, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Wrong Turn, but getting to the facility was like wrong turn. It was very dark. There were no street lights, and there were all these long winding roads. And keep in mind, the only thing I know is what Michelle and I have talked about on DM. So we coming down all of these long roads. He even made a wrong turn and had to like go in reverse in the middle of the street. Thank God there were no cars coming because you couldn't see. So he pulls up to this house, and it's a beautiful home. It's very large. Think of like a ranch on a whole lot of land. And it was dark, so all I could see was this nice, maybe like 3-story property, and the porch light was on. And then other than that, there was no signs of anyone. So Michelle had already said and made arrangements for me to go ahead and come a day earlier than everyone else because of I'm flying out of a small city into a small city, so travel arrangements or flights were limited. So when I got there, I arrived to an empty facility. So they told me where my room was, and in the end, I'm gonna come back to this probably on another video. But so when you walked into the home, the home was open. I walked in the home. I really wanted to lock that door behind me, but I didn't know if somebody else was supposed to be coming, and I didn't know, so I didn't lock the door in the middle of nowhere. I'm just waiting on Freddy Krueger to come get me, but I was trying to stay positive. So anyway, they tell me to go up the stairs, and they said when you go up the stairs, you'll walk directly into your room. So as you're walking up the stairs, what they didn't tell me was there were rooms on both sides of the walls, lining both sides of the walls as I walked up. But I had to go up another step. The room that I was in was at the end of the hall, like straight ahead, straight on. And at the very top of the steps, it was like a few more steps that you had to go up to, and then there was my room. And here's a little footage of what the inside of the room looks like. I did save it because I knew I wanted to make this video. No, here's a little footage of what the room looks like. But when I walked in the room, I was scared, but I forgot I was scared because it was so peaceful. And of course I had to walk around and take a look at the room, and you can see more of the room here. But it was just like a regular room. It wasn't like all glamorous and all of that, but it was very nice. It was very comfortable, and it just had a feeling of calmness and peace. And everywhere that I looked, there was the perfect Bible verse. So as I went to remove my jewelry and, prepare to, take my makeup off and get ready for the night, I decided to lay my jewelry on top of the chest of drawers. And next to where I laid my jewelry, there was a little picture that had the Serenity Prayer. That caught my attention. I really liked that. So then I went into the bathroom and I removed my makeup, and I was preparing to go out of the bathroom. I noticed that right across from where the toilet was, there was another sign that had another scripture on it. I can't remember what it is right now, but it was something about trusting the Lord. And it was a scripture that I felt I needed to read every day. And the way it was placed, each time I went into the bathroom to use the bathroom, I would see that scripture and read that scripture. There were books around the room. So there were books beside the bed, like decorative, placed to be like decorative books, but there were books on prayer and books that when I saw the title of the books, I wanted to read them. They were Christian books. So I was very, very pleased with the room. It was very, very nice. And I forgot I was scared. I did lock the door and I went on to sleep. The next day, I was there alone. I knew that when everyone else arrived, that the phone would have to go, but right away they didn't take my phone. They told me to just, you can entertain yourself. So I decided to go for a walk. I was in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so let me just say, the retreat itself was life-changing. I was around people that understood what I needed and where I was, and I felt a sense of belonging. I did. And although I'm not a celebrity, I'm not Disney's child, I'm not Michelle or anything. I'm just a regular old girl from Memphis, Tennessee. When I was there, everyone from the other people that were a part of the program, like myself, to the people that were actually running the program, they treated me like I was so special. One thing I continued to hear throughout that weekend was how I was set apart and how there was a calling on my life and how I was special. And one thing that about me, I have low self-esteem. I've always had low self-esteem. And I just didn't think I was worthy of being chosen or set apart. So to hear those things really, really made me feel special. And at first I thought they were just saying that because they knew how I got there. Well, not everyone even knew my story until I shared it at a later time, how I got there. So it was really genuine. So I really appreciated that. For the very first time, I felt a sense of community and belonging. And I don't feel that very often, so it felt very good. During the first session, that's when the staff, really told us what the program was about. And when, one of the first things the facilitator or the host shared was, we are not a mental health facility. We're not doctors. This is based on the Word of God. This is spiritual. And I just remember sitting there thinking, And where she got me at? This not for me. I'm here because I got I need a doctor. I need some medicine. Remember that. I need a doctor. I need some medicine. I don't need this spiritual stuff. I need some medicine. This not for me. 10 minutes later, 10 minutes later, another thing. So with it being very heavily based on faith in the promises of God and dealing with unresolved childhood traumas, worship played a large role in that. So my husband and I had also just recently started attending a new church here in our city, and they played a lot of worship music. Think like Maverick City. Honey, I told my husband, I like the church, but I'm not feeling the music. I was used to some John P. Key, Fred Hammond, give me some tambourines, give me some dun, 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 dun. That's what I was used to. So I wasn't feeling worship music. So when we get there, hands raised, worship, I'm like, and before I knew it, I made myself let go and like truly absorb and be a part of what's going on. And I experienced worship like I have never experienced it before. And now at this point, it's something that I crave. So as the weekend went on, needless to say, I did find a lot of things that helped me. So I realized that depression is an illness. It is an illness, it is. But there are times when unresolved childhood trauma in your lives can put you in a situation where you are open to depression. So I learned that a lot of what I'm dealing with maybe originated there. And the crazy part, let me say this also, they never took my phone. The facility, everything that you did was based on you, and the experience is whatever you made it to be. So although they didn't take my phone, they did ask us to unplug from the weekend, and I did just that. I was really, I played by the rules. And I'm gonna tell you a crazy thing. I've also shared how I love working out. So on that second morning, when the retreat had started, we had a little time, and I decided to get out and go for a walk just to clear my mind and get ready for the day. So while I was out walking, I had never ever done miles outside or anywhere else without music. So I'm like, well, how am I gonna make it through this workout and I don't have music? So I'm walking, and it was a beautiful place. It was like in the middle of nowhere. So you walk around, and I don't want to say it makes a perfect circle because that's another story I'm going to tell, but you don't see anything for miles. There are no cars driving by, so you can walk in the street if you want. There are no animals, not alive anyway. I did see some dead animals, but it was so peaceful. But during that walk, I was able to experience what it's like when God exposes something to you. So now I knew why I hadn't heard God, because I had never allowed myself to get to a place where I was quiet enough where I could hear him. And in this moment, when I allowed myself to get quiet, God revealed to me some things that I had been dealing with from my childhood that I had blocked out completely. I had completely forgot about it. And when I tell you, I was out there in the middle of nowhere trying to get in some miles, and I was snotting and crying, just boo-hooing. But it helped. It really helped me to deal with it. And also through this experience, not only did I learn how to get quiet and hear God, it taught me how to pray. It taught me how to journal. Like I never knew how to journal. But at the end of the sessions, the host would give us assignments to do overnight, because it was an overnight retreat. So when I would retire to my room, I would do my assignments because I took it very seriously, and it was just amazing how things just came to me. So all my life I had been feeling with and being very insecure about the fact that I didn't know how to pray. Like, when people ask people to pray, whether it's in a family setting, when they're like, somebody bless the food, and definitely not at church or in, sorority meetings where they say, can somebody bring the blessing or say a few words? Not me. Not so I can get up there and go, no, not me. But while I still won't do that because I'm very shy, now I at least know how to pray. I know I don't have to go to God sounding like somebody else. I know that, you know, I can just talk to God. I know to ask God for what I want, because although it seems very simple before this time, you know, I had never told God exactly what I wanted from him, and I still struggle with it. So all of that to say, I learned a lot. But this wasn't the end. This is just the beginning. This is the story how me sharing my personal experiences with mental illness on the internet landed me a DM from a celebrity that sponsored me and sent me to North Carolina to a retreat that changed my life and helped me come out of a major depressive episode. So even in those moments that I felt so alone, I started to realize God was always with me. And I was so slow and couldn't see it until I guess God felt like he had to do something big to get my attention and let me know without a doubt that it was him and he was with me. And he did that by using Michelle. So I'm so grateful that she was obedient to doing what God asked her to do, because had she not been obedient and reached out to me, I might still be in that place. So I am forever grateful to Michelle Williams just for reaching out to me and offering me an experience that was truly life-changing on more than one level. I also had a greater respect for her in how she was using her platform to help others who were still struggling with something that she seems to be fine. I know I'm not crazy. I know she probably still has her moments. People say more money, more problems. So I know on the outside looking in, it looks like things are perfect for her. But after reading her book, I understand that it's not. But, even with her balancing life and going on and, finding her own happiness, she still finds time to pour back into others, and not just anybody, but random nobodies like me. And I'm forever grateful to her for that. So, mental illness can be very dark and it can be very lonely, but just remember you're not alone. And it's so easy to want to hide it. Because, I've had people some people have made jokes and said things intentionally to be mean. And other times people are not coming from a bad place or actually don't mean any harm, but they just don't really understand. And so sometimes the things that they have said have been offensive or hurt, or have hurt me. But, I still think that there is more value in sharing than keeping it to yourself. Because let's say I had never shared this. Would I be where I am now, or would I still be struggling? I definitely wouldn't have had the opportunity that I had. So if you are out there and you're struggling, I encourage you to share. And I'm not saying you have to get on the internet, create a YouTube channel and make a YouTube video, or even tell, everybody in your life. But find one person, even if it's just your best friend, if it's your mom, your sister, or your brother. So again, I'm not saying you have to hop on social media and tell the world or, shout it from the mountaintops, but find somebody, whether it be your parent, a friend, or a sibling, to share with, because it does help to get it out. And who knows, maybe if you do decide to share openly, maybe you'll meet your own Michelle Williams or somebody else. So there's much more that happened to this. I really want to tell you about how, of course, this is reality, right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I went through this retreat and everything was perfect after. No. The retreat was wonderful. It was life-changing. I learned a lot, but I quickly got a reality check when it was time to check out, like within minutes. And I'm going to tell you all about it in my next video. See you soon. For Michelle Williams of Destiny Child to send me a message in my DM that was huge. And then to hear her say that she had come across my reel that I had made talking about suicidal thoughts and how I was suffering with suicidal thoughts. She had